And now let's go ahead and let's kick things off with our new discussion of the week segment. Now, for those of you all who are familiar with discussion of the week, who are familiar with the segment, discussion of the week is pretty much my societal discussion segment, but I've also talked about entertainment, media. More often than not, it's always been some type of like topical issue. A lot of times a social political issue that has to deal with media and entertainment in that sort. And also the unique thing about discussion of the week, which we are going to get back to starting next week, is that this is a viewer generated segment. So my viewers, you all leave suggestions in the comments below, giving us discussion topics. These topics can pretty much range from anything. I don't think there's a single topic I have yet to discuss on the channel. For the longest time, it was no politics, no religion, and I've actually managed to get around to discussing both of those at one point in time. So by all means, for those of you all watching this live, and for those of you all who will be watching this online after the fact, please feel free to take this time now, leave suggestions for future discussion of the week topics, and thumb up the one you want to see us discuss. As always, the one that gets the most thumbs up, that gets the most votes, that's the one that we'll consider for discussion in the next show. So I went ahead and I picked the first topic for us to start off with, since we're resurrecting this segment. And what I want to talk about tonight for discussion of the week is the concept of superhero fatigue. And this is what I mean when I say superhero fatigue. I'm not talking about the fatigue of actual superhero characters or anything like that. No, what I'm talking about is the idea that in 2017, we are pretty much, I guess you could say, in the height of what many would consider the golden age of superhero media. We are living at a time where, I mean, we have how many movies? We got 3 MCU movies. We have Logan. We have Power Rangers. We have 2 DC movies. And I'm trying to think, are there any other superhero movies coming out? Superhero. I think that might be it. So we got 7 superhero movies coming out this year. Which one?
Power Rangers, if you want to include it.
Yeah, I did include it.
Okay.
Three MCUs, Logan, 2 DCs, and then Power Rangers. So we got 7 superhero movies coming out in this year alone. And then with all the shows we got on television, we got 4 Arrowverse DC shows. We are getting Legion, which is premiering this month on FX, which is an X-Men show. There's another X-Men show in development. They just announced that they're doing a Static Shock show and a Black Lightning show. We got Cloak and Dagger coming out. We got Gotham that's still going on. And then Logo, okay, so 10 shows already. And then let's not forget Netflix.
Daredevil,
Luke Cage putting out what? 2 or 3 Netflix shows this year, because we got we got Iron Fist, we got Defenders, and I don't know if that Punisher is coming out this year. But if that Punisher comes out this year, you talk about 13 shows. 13. Oh, and I forgot Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. That's still going on.
Really?
Legends of Tomorrow.
Yeah. I counted Legends of Tomorrow
DC.
in the Arrowverse show.
On what?
So pretty much 7 movies. 13 plus shows on television. Square Enix just announced a new partnership with Disney. They're doing a string of Marvel video games now. Is it too much? That's my question for you tonight.
When you put it that way, perhaps. I was really trying to wrap my head around this earlier today when I was thinking about the topic, and really the only thing I can say is that there can never be too much of something as long as that thing is quality. So I guess the question would have to be, is there enough quality to justify the quantity of the shows and the movies that we're getting? And I think the answer is probably yes, although what's really holding everything together is the MCU, is the Marvel Universe. Because outside of that, DC is I mean, okay, the movies are trash. I mean, let's just be honest about that. The TV shows are I mean, I don't even watch the TV shows. I mean, I watched some episodes of Flash, I watched some episodes of Legends of Tomorrow, and those things weren't what I would call great. But again, I mean, if you just look at the Marvel stuff, I mean, the Marvel stuff is really what's holding the superhero thing together. I mean, if you take out Marvel, then everything's probably not good enough to really justify itself. But with the Marvel stuff, I think it probably is. I think Marvel has just enough quality to justify this level of content and quantity.
Yeah, I would. So my thing, Hikari, is I agree with you, but I'm also looking at it like I think you said that the amount that we're given is not a problem so much as it remains quality. Where I disagree with that is that the more we get, the less quality can be assured. And this is what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, okay, there's a reason why the DC material isn't holding up compared to Marvel, and that's because we're getting so much of it. These productions are being cranked. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Because this is why these productions are being cranked out. I'm talking about, and let me suspend your. Let me go ahead and just kill the suspense for you. The DC TV shows, no, they're not doing well. They're not that good. From what I've actually, I dropped Legends of Tomorrow. I have not watched Arrow this season, all but the premiere, and I've heard nothing but bad things about it. I heard that, you know, I was one of the people who defended Arrow last season because I didn't think it was that bad, despite everybody else around me saying, no, dude, it's terrible. I've heard that this season is even worse than last season. So I'm like, I was hearing so much bad things about last season, and I'm sitting up there defending it. I can only imagine if it's gotten that much worse. I can only imagine how bad it could possibly be. And I can tell you right now, Flash is the only one I've kept up with, and it's not good, dude. It's really not. The only series I've heard that has actually sort of been keeping, keeping itself together is Supergirl. I've heard
all
that
the good Arrow writers and Flash writers went to Supergirl.
I heard that season 2 of Supergirl isn't as good as the first season, but it's not that bad either. Like, Supergirl hasn't fallen off that much. But the
She's
other
still new though.
Yeah, well, that's true too, because I mean, with Arrow, we're 5 years in now. Flash, this is its 3rd year. But I mean, even Legends, this is only the 2nd season of Legends. Right. But then again, Legends, I felt like that show didn't have a leg to stand on in the first place.
I was gonna say that show was doomed to fail when they first said it. Like, go ahead.
Yeah, because I mean, personally, I felt like Legends was trying to piggyback off of Guardians. It's like, oh, let's take a bunch of B and C list characters and put them, in these quirky situations, and it's like it just never, it never caught on. But then again, that's also because, like I said, I'm trying to convey this message of more equal. The more we get, the less quality we'll actually get. Here's the thing. Legends was never intended to be a full-blown show. It was supposed to be a miniseries. It was supposed to be a one snippet miniseries, and that was supposed to be it. I think if they had kept it like that, it would have actually turned out pretty well. It's the same complaint that people made about Agent Carter, because Agent Carter originally was supposed to be a one snippet miniseries, and that miniseries, from what I heard, spectacular. The second it got renewed for a 2nd season and it got a full season order, that's when it fell apart, and sure enough, it got canceled. The same thing, I believe, went for Constantine. Constantine was supposed to be a 10-episode miniseries, and then it got expanded into 13, and then bam, pulled the plug.
Same thing with Preacher too.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. You're right. Well, actually, by the time Preacher got that full season order, I knew that they were trying to keep that going as long as they could.
Shit, it was bad in the first season.
So the thing is, like, the way I look at it is, the more material we make, the less that we can guarantee that it's all going to be quality. Because here's the thing, so much as you have the good of something, you're gonna have to get the bad at some point in time. And the more material you make, the more likely you are to eventually get that bad. That's why I've been saying it for the longest time, and so many other critics and journalists have said it too. It's going to be real interesting to see what happens when Marvel finally produces a stink film. Because even with Incredible Hulk and Iron Man 2 and Thor: The Dark World, even like most people would agree that even those movies, at worst, it's just kind of decent.
Right.
But I don't think there has not been a unanimous, like, no, this movie is bad. That hasn't happened.
I think it's going to be difficult for Marvel to produce that stink film, though. Simply because of the structure. And I think we talked about this a little bit on Facebook. It's the chain of command is so structured, and all of the writers and directors are in such agreement about what should happen. And the person that is ahead of this, Kevin Feige, I mean, like, look, Kevin Feige knows what he's doing. You know, he's not Zack Snyder. And so as a result, I don't think we'll ever get that unanimously bad Marvel film. And I think that, I mean, to an extent, I agree with your point about the more material you produce, the more likely you are to produce bad material. But I think that's also a function of just people fucking up when it comes to creating their universe. I mean, Zack Snyder created a universe where it would be very difficult for him to produce good storytelling. I mean, that's just the way it goes. And look, I defended Man of Steel when it came out. I mean, I loved Man of Steel. I still like Man of Steel. But after that, I'm like, look, man, this universe you've created is too constrained in its philosophy, in its objectives. And the chain of command at DC sucks. I mean, look at the Flash film. The Flash film is just falling apart. I mean, the Batman film with Ben Affleck, who was supposed to direct and star in the movie. I mean, what the hell is that? That fell apart.
And
I mean,
Affleck just stepped down as director.
Right. I mean, if people know what they're doing with their material, then you're more likely to get quality material. It just so happens that DC doesn't know what the hell they're doing.
I'm gonna jump in here because I haven't said anything in a while. So sorry, didn't mean to step on you, Larry. But
no, go ahead. Do you think?
Okay. Think of this in terms of food. We got Burger King, McDonald's, Wendy's. Which do you choose? Now, there are other places. There's In-N-Out Burger, Jack in the Box, all those other places. Where do you go? Where do you go? So the quantity of stuff really doesn't matter. All that matters is the quality of what you're getting. Like Uber said, we can get as fatigued. We're probably going to get fatigued, maybe. But at its core, superhero films are basically just genre films. They're all going along a different kind of genre. You got Thor being, high fantasy. You got Iron Man, which is more sci-fi. Captain America's a lot more drama. I mean, they're all kind of,
Time out.
Yeah.
I agree with what you're saying, but here's the thing, because you've just proven my upcoming point in your examples. Marvel's the only one doing that.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
DC is pretty much, it's all the same thing.
Hold on. This is what I'm saying, Larry. This is what I'm saying. We will be fatigued if everybody is out there consuming, like if you went to McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's, In-N-Out Burger, Jack in the Box, all in one day, yeah, you'll get fatigued and probably diabetes and you're going to die. But if you just consumed the quality material, you're not going to get fatigued. That is what I'm saying. We'll get fatigued as we want to be. No one can sit down and watch all of the 13 some odd DC shows, all of the Marvel movies, no one can do that. No one's going to do that unless, they have a lot of time on their hands, which is really sad. But if you sit down and you consume the quality stuff, you're not going to get fatigued because I'm going to go here. I'm going to get quality material. We're only going to get fatigued if we allow ourselves to be. If society says, or if people are out seeing these movies and it's like, oh man, that movie really sucked. Like I was fatigued after seeing Batman v Superman. I don't want to see another I don't want to see another DC film again. That movie just took the wind right out of me, you know? But because it was bad quality. If you like a place that you eat at, you're going to keep going to it. If you don't like somewhere, you're not going to go to that place. I'm not going to go to another DC movie again, but I am going to go to another Marvel movie again. And the Marvel movies are like, you know, okay, there's some here, there's some there, but at least I know I'm going to get some quality when I go. I can't get that when I go to DC. I can't get that if I'm watching Gotham. I can't get that if I'm watching, you know, The Flash or whatever. But I can get that when I'm watching Daredevil. I can get that with Iron Fist. That's what I'm saying.
See, and my thing is this: like I'm feeling the fatigue. I'm feeling the fatigue, and the reason for that is not because I'm subjecting myself to bad material. Because, well, I am with the CW stuff. But like with the DC films, I haven't seen a DC film since Man of Steel. So I'm not partaking in the bad films. My thing is this though, and going back to what we just discussed on OAW Late Night about anticipated films. Here's the thing. Even with Marvel, I feel like I already know what I'm getting. I don't feel like I'm getting surprised by anything anymore. Because here's the thing. As much as I like Doc Strange, but when I came out of Doc Strange, my girlfriend asked me, she was like, "What did you think of it?" I was like, "It was all right," because I expected it to be as, you know, the quality that I got. Now, granted, I can go ahead and, you know, bitch, whine, moan, and complain about Dormammu, but that's for a discussion for another time. And even going into Civil War, I went and saw Civil War with my sister, and she's like, "What did you think of it?" I'm like, "Oh, it was good. It was good." That's not how I came out of Guardians. That's not how I came out of Winter Soldier, and it sure as shit ain't how I came out of Days of Future Past. Like all three of those movies, which funny enough, that was all 2014. All three of those movies, I was like, oh my God, it was way better than I thought it would be going in.
Okay, I see. Okay, I don't think your problem is fatigue. I think you've been spoiled.
Oh, okay.
Okay. I think with the quality, what you've seen that they're capable of, you now expect them to do better, and that's not a bad problem. I feel like we're forgetting how far we've come with superhero movies, so that now that we're finally here and they're good, we're like, do better, you know? And they can only do as good as they're going to do. But I mean, where we're at right now with Marvel, at least, is a sweet spot. We've hit the point where superhero movies are taken seriously. They're, you know, cash cows. People are actually investing a lot into, you know, nerd culture and things like that. So I feel like we're kind of getting a little spoiled, you know, and saying, oh yeah, well, they could have done better. But it's like, no. Given the fact that these movies were garbage for a long time before someone actually put some heart and soul into it, it's like, yeah, let's give them the applause that they're due. And with things like DC, which they can do better, we need to tell them, hey, do better. You know, get your stuff together. But with Marvel, it's like, I'm not saying they get a pass. What I'm saying is they've been putting the same quality stuff, but that stuff is quality. It's still good stuff. Mm-hmm. We're just expecting better stuff. Like, we're getting 8s and 9s. We want 10 all the time, and that's not going to happen, to be honest. Being realistic, that's not going to happen, you know?
Yeah, I agree with that. Just looking at like the Netflix series, for an example, like Daredevil season 1, dude. I rewatched that like 7 times. That's how much I loved it. And Jessica Jones, I only watched it once just because it was a little heavy for me. But it was still good. But then by the time Daredevil season 2 comes out, I'm like, the hell is this? You know, because I'm expecting season 1 again. Right. And then even Luke Cage, like watching Luke Cage, first half, I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
Then we got the second half, and I'm like, what the hell is this?
Right.
So I see your point. That is a good argument. That's a good argument. That's fair.
Well, I mean, that being said, go ahead, Uber.
I was going to say the reason why I'm not fatigued is because, like you said, this is the golden age, man. I mean, I love comics. I love this stuff. I love this culture. And I really believe in the importance of what some people might consider to be low forms of culture, like anime or manga or, you know, superhero movies or comics. I really treat those things the same way I would treat high culture. And to me, they're as important as forms of high culture. I mean, I don't believe in the distinction between, you know, popular culture and then there's high culture. And so for me, I think it's just awesome. Like, I just can't get enough of this shit. I just love it. I mean, every movie that comes out, I'm anticipating it. I'm loving the movies that are coming out. I mean, again, the only thing that I'm not like this about is DC.
Well, and here's the thing, because I know a lot of people are gonna say, "Oh, you're just hating on DC." No, I'm a huge DC fanboy. Like, if you
Me
saw
too.
if anybody out there, if you saw my bookshelf full of DC, full of DC, you know, I got like 2 or 3 Marvel books in there, but full of DC, you know. So the reason why I'm so hard on DC is because I want them to succeed, and right now, I'm not getting that from DC. I'm getting it from Marvel, and I'm praising them because it's like, okay, say, you know, because Doc Strange, I mean, that was like a better version of Green Lantern. Doc Strange was like a
Everything's a better version of Green Lantern.
7. But no, legit, Doc Strange was like a 7. But here's the thing. I know where Marvel is going with Doc Strange. I know what they're doing with that character. So when they put out a movie that's a 7, I can give it a round of applause and say, I know where you're going, Marvel. I trust you with this. I trust the next chapter of this. I know what's going to happen next. You know, even if it is a 7, it's like it's leading up to a 10. Infinity War better be 10, but it's leading up there. I trust them enough to have that feeling where it's like, you can put out a 7 and I'll still give you a thumbs up. With DC, they haven't earned it yet. And when they put out Suicide Squad, it was desperate and it smelled that way and it looked that way. And I'm like, you haven't earned Suicide Squad. Marvel earned Guardians of the Galaxy. They earned that movie. You know? Because they went out there. Go ahead.
It reminds me of a very long novel or a very long book series. And, you know, some of the books, maybe the first 2 books are excellent. And then maybe the middle books are, you know, 5s or 6s or 7s. But you know, at some point, there's going to be that last book. And you know, because you trust the author, you know that last book is going to be the payoff. And that's what I feel like Marvel is. You know that they've got a lot of these movies coming out. The first ones, maybe they were 9s and 10s. And maybe the middle ones are going to be 5s or 6s or 7s. But you know, at some point, there is going to be the payoff that you feel like you deserve. And like Ugo said, it doesn't feel that way with DC. Like, it feels like DC is never going to have any payoffs. That's what it feels like.
It feels like they blew their load in Batman v Superman, but we're not here to talk about Marvel DC. We're talking about superhero fatigue. Now, about superhero fatigue, my thing is, are superhero movies eventually going to burn out? Yes. Short answer, yes. But that being said, the superhero genre is kind of the only style of movie that can weave in so many directions. Because if it's a superhero film, it's already sci-fi. It's already fantasy. Already. But like, is it sci-fi? Is it a thriller? Is it a horror? Is it a comedy? Is it a drama? You can do so much with the superhero genre that just has yet to be explored. Now, I want to take this all the way to the 1980s and talk about Watchmen for a second. In Watchmen, that was a world where superheroes already exist. What kind of comics were they reading? I'm asking. Anybody?
Well, tell us Black Freighter, that was a pirate comic.
Exactly. They were reading pirate comics. Why? Because in their world, superheroes already exist. They're not interesting. So what I'm saying is, in our world, in reality, superheroes don't exist. So they'll be infinitely interesting. My thing is, if the superhero genre does fizzle out, which eventually it will, what will be the next thing to come up? Because we've already done book adaptations. We've already done video game adaptations. And I feel like once the superhero genre does trickle out, I feel like video games are going to be next. And I feel like someone, somewhere, is going to take that one video game, maybe The Last of Us, probably, and make that into a movie, and that's going to start the video game movie boom. So I feel like there are these little booms set up somewhere that are going to happen. But right now, we're in the superhero boom, and that's fine, and I like it here. The video game movie boom has yet to happen yet.
Here's the thing with that, though. I'm less likely to think that that would happen, and the reason for that is because at their bare root, superheroes, that's comic books, that's still a literary medium.
Oh, I agree with you.
It's really no different than a novel, just that it has pictures. So
I agree.
Here's the thing, though, but video games, that's a whole different monster because that's an interactive medium. And the other thing to take in consideration is this: with superhero movies, it didn't take so many attempts before somebody finally got it right. I mean, for all intent and purpose, Superman 1 got it right. And yeah, you can go ahead and say what you want about 2 and 3 and 4 and Supergirl, but then 89 Batman got it right. And then say what you will about Returns and Forever and Robin, Blade got it right. X-Men got it right. You know, we didn't have so many attempts to get it right. Video games, Super Mario Brothers.
They haven't gotten it right yet.
Tomb Raider 1 and 2, which were decent. All right. We just had Assassin's Creed, Doom. What other video game movies were there? Like,
Larry, those have yet to be Christopher Nolan. Those have yet to get the Nolan treatment.
What I'm saying is, look at the most successful video game film franchise, Resident Evil.
Yeah, but another thing I was gonna bring up is that I'm not so sure if the superhero films will really fizzle out. And the reason why I say that is because the superhero genre, at least as it's constructed in America between Marvel and DC, the big powerhouses, it's the only genre where the narratives are eminently rebootable.
Yeah.
Like they just rebooted over and over and over again. And that's not true really about any other genre. Like for Dark Tower, for example, like if you make a Dark Tower movie or even a series, like you can't come back 15 years later and be like, I'm just going to reboot Dark Tower. Like it just doesn't work that way. I mean, you could do it.
They tried it with Terminator.
My Dark Tower heads know exactly what I'm talking about. Yes, you can.
Well, I mean, you could, but I wouldn't recommend it. That's what I'm saying. And Terminator's a good example of I wouldn't recommend it, right? Like, right. I mean, the mythology of comic books, and I can't remember, I think it was Stan Lee who said this, the mythology of comic books are really the repository of American folklore. I mean, there's stories that America tells about itself, and those stories can be rebooted so that we can tell them about ourselves over and over and over again. And I don't think any other franchises have that type of status in American mythology and tradition.
I'll agree to that. It is American standard American mythology. Like it's the Greek mythology of America.
Right.
That being said, though, even if comic books are rebootable, I feel like Marvel is coming down to the final chapters of the story it wants to tell, and the only way they can continue doing that is if they have a bunch of new characters, or they stick solely to like Netflix shows or something like that, or give other characters solo movies, like, you know, they come out with this movie or that movie that that's not Thor, Iron Man, or any of those guys. That's the only way I see them actually getting somewhere, see them advancing. But I feel like where superhero movies are going now, we're going to have so many things. They're going to come to this big crescendo, and that's going to be it. Like, once Infinity War is done, once we get the last Justice League movie, let's hope that's soon, then everything will kind of come to a head and it'll be done. And then they'll probably want to explore some other superheroes, like, God forbid, Wildstorm or something. But
God forbid, Wildstorm. I'd love a Mr. Majestic. Oh my gosh.
well, yeah, Mr. Majestic, okay.
Majestic.
But like some of the other Wildstorm characters, come on.
Okay, well, I mean, yeah, okay. But I mean, Mr. Majestic would make up for that, right?
Yeah, no, that would be great. In fact, that basically could have been, that's a topic for another day. But what I'm saying is, I feel like the superhero genre will trickle out eventually. The golden age will run its course, and it will be back to standard. But right now, I mean, we're riding high. We've been riding high since what, 2006? When did Iron Man come out?
08.
2008? Yeah.
2008 was the birth of the current golden age, because in 2008 you had Iron Man and Dark Knight.
Yeah, so 2008. We've been riding high since 2008. So
damn, that's 9 years. That's awesome.
It still ain't old enough to drive, man. It still ain't old enough to drink. But the point of the matter is, we got to a point now where this is taken seriously. It is at a place where it can stand next to, the Godfather trilogy and things like that, where you can talk about those movies and not be laughed out of the building. That being said, I feel like it is gonna come to a head. It is going to end, but I don't know what's gonna come after it, because there aren't that many superheroes that you can really do a movie on and make it good. Now, I'm probably gonna eat my words on that, but
I was just about to say, Marvel might have the formula.
They could do it, and I believe they could, but right now I feel like they have enough material to tell the story that they want to tell. Right. And with the way everything's structured, they do have an end game in mind. They do have, this is where it's going, this is where it's going to end, this is what's going to happen, and I'm cool with that. So I feel like the end is coming, and that's what's going to make it so much better. But what's next, I don't know. I still feel like video games. I still feel like somebody can do it. It can be done. We can rebuild them. We can make them stronger.
I mean, my feeling about video games is I agree with Larry that it's a little bit different in the sense that it's an interactive medium, but it's still at its core narrative. I mean, The Last of Us was just, a fantastic narrative. I mean, there's no reason why you couldn't take The Last of Us and make it into a movie. Well, I don't know. I know, right? There's always a but with these video games, but I don't know why people can't seem to do it. I mean, maybe they just don't take the material seriously enough.
Here's the thing. I will say this, though, and I'm going to segue to wrap this up. But in terms of video games, I will say this. People keep bringing up The Last of Us, and I don't think that is a good comparison. And I'm tired of people going to The Last of Us, because here's the thing. I don't ever hear anybody talk about the actual mechanics or the things about The Last of Us that makes it a good game. All I hear about is it's cinematic. What I'm telling you is this. The Last of Us was a video game that was made to be a movie, because they went into it with the idea that we want this to be a movie that you play through, not a video game. So,
can I tell you something?
Not really a fair comparison.
Go ahead. But here's the thing. Video games nowadays are becoming a hell of a lot more cinematic than they used to be.
Oh my gosh. Mm-hmm. They're like extended movies, basically.
Yeah, I basically read an article that said that the video games should just be basically cutscenes. And especially with quick time events in video games, you're basically playing cutscenes. Now, what Larry said, yeah. Now, I love the mechanics of The Last of Us. I do. I really like the mechanics. But you can like a game's mechanics, but you're playing it for the story. You want to see where this goes. You're not just playing it just to be like, oh, this is really great mechanics. No, you're playing it because you're invested. So there is a way to take that kind of narrative, that kind of investment, and put it into a movie. And here is where I'm probably going to lose a lot of people, but choose your own adventure films. Direct-to-DVD releases, choose your own adventure DVD films.
They have some
of those. It can happen.
They have some of those.
Some of them, but it's still in its infant stages right now. And I feel like one of the biggest things missed was Joss Whedon's Cabin in the Woods. I hate Joss Whedon to high hell, but if he would have come out with a sequel to that movie, direct on DVD, with the ability to pick and choose the monsters or be in the control room or be the victims, that would have been great. Or have a sequel as a video game. But the two, movies and video games, are starting to merge now. They're starting to merge in a weird way, and more people are becoming interested in video game movies. Assassin's Creed just came out. That was a huge stinker, yes. But it's because, again, they couldn't get the formula right.
I think I know why they can't get the formula right. And I just thought of this, and then we can segue into the wrap up. I don't think people know how to dramatize video games yet. I mean, it's clear that they're narratives. It's clear that they're cinematic, but it seems like they just don't know how to dramatize it. Like, video games are not superhero films, right? I mean, superheroes come from a medium, comic books, which is about dramatizing the lives of these characters. And I just don't think people have been able to reproduce the drama of a video game into a movie yet.
Yeah, I would definitely say that, because once again, there's no reason Warcraft should have failed. No.
Anyway.
So that's pretty much going to wrap up this week's Discussion of the Week segment. I want to go ahead once again thank Ugo Strange and Uber Hikari for joining me for this live Discussion of the Week. And once again, I also want to go ahead and thank the 113 live viewers that we have watching this live on the OAW YouTube channel. Thank you so much. For those of you all watching this after the fact, I want to thank you all for tuning in. And once again, please feel free. Make sure that you check in with us every Saturday, 8 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time, for the live recording of this segment. And if not, be sure to check the channel. This is going to be going up on Monday nights, Mondays. I'm not sure if I still haven't decided about night upload or morning upload, but Monday you'll be getting this Discussion of the Week as its own separate video. So let's go ahead and do a quick departure for those people. This has been Larry Williams, OAW Commander-in-Chief.
Ugo Strange, your grandma's best YouTuber.
I can't follow that up with anything great. This is Uber Hikari.
And once again, remember, please feel free in the comments below, leave suggestions for next week's Discussion of the Week topic, and thumb up the one you want to see us discuss. The one that gets the most thumbs up will be the one we will consider for next week's video.